Well, it's time for Dinner With, the series where I sit down with a friend that I've known for quite some time in the esports or gaming industry, and we have a meal and talk a little bit about them and their journey and everything about them. Today, I am joined by none other than Emily Rand. How's it going, Emily?
Good.
I know you for a long time, or
Yeah.
I've known you for a long time, and there's nothing that you enjoy more than talking about yourself. Is that accurate?
Sure.
Yes.
We'll go with that.
Yes. No, but and in reality, I'm excited to do this interview in part because you don't tend to do a lot of these because you
No.
don't like talking about yourself.
Yes.
Is it the food that encouraged you to do
Yeah,
this?
I mean, free food.
Yes. Well, what did you choose? Because for those that don't know, we let the guests choose on the show, and you chose this.
Yeah, so I chose a pizza place that I still love, but I randomly found the first time I was visiting here to cover LCS. So I just randomly looked up places that were still open at like 9 o'clock. And I discovered this pizza place, and it ended up being really good. So.
And how long ago was that? What year was that?
2017. It was
2017.
right before Yahoo Esports.
Okay. Yes. Way back in the day. And we'll talk about Yahoo,
Yeah.
obviously. But yeah, I mean, what did you order from Grubhub?
I ordered a prosciutto di Parma pizza and then a garlic knot for the two of us because I love garlic
No,
just generally.
This place has an amazing garlic knot.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have some beautiful B-roll of that. But thank you so much to Grubhub for making the show happen. And again, it's such a great show because I just get to sit down and eat a delicious meal with somebody. And today that person is Emily.
Yeah.
So, Emily, as we are diving in and we both get to enjoy trying to eat pizza while having a conversation, I know you've referenced this on the broadcast and other areas, but where in the U.S. did you grow up?
I grew up in the Boston area, so right outside of Boston.
Okay. So does this feel like a Boston-style pizza for you?
Not at all, but it's really good.
Okay. So I want to say Paravine. Is that where things started for you in esports?
Technically, things started on a defunct blog with me and two friends because I feel like I've told the story about how I got into League, which was actually through a bunch of friends that...
You should tell the story again.
Yeah, okay, all right.
We're just going to pretend you haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all fresh
so here's how I
content
got
on
into
Dinner
League of
With.
Legends.
Yes.
I was blogging about anime, and a bunch of us had, we would watch stuff together over Skype. And at the time, the two things that introduced me to League were a bunch of my anime blogging friends were playing it. And then there was also a fan sub group at the time that changed their banner to Cottontail Teemo.
Okay.
And they were all playing either super early beta or maybe alpha because this is 2011. So, anyway, I remember waiting for fan subs and I would go to their page and it would just be that stupid Teemo banner staring at me.
Because there's a decent amount of overlap with anime fans and League of Legends fans.
Yeah,
Yes.
there is. Especially in early days, I think there were if there was a video game, it happens now too on social media, right? Someone gets into a video game and then all the anime bloggers talking about it on Twitter, and that happened with League of Legends, especially since a lot of people already played Dota, which I did not play. And I ended up also, I knew a bunch of my friends played it. I was visiting one of my friends in Minnesota, and we were all drunk watching him play League of Legends in 2012. Okay. And I was like, wow, this game is so cool. I was probably intoxicated at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But then I came home and I downloaded it, and I knew a bunch of my anime blogging friends played it. And so we all ended up playing together. And then they were like, oh, if you want to get better because you're not very good, makes sense. I just started the game. You should watch streamers and pros.
Yeah.
And so, that's how I ended up watching Afro and Natwin, and those are the two main streams. Because they have the best music.
I was going to say, I actually do remember that. And I because it was early on, a lot of it was just who has the better music or who has the crazier reactions.
Yes.
And Yutwin and Afro were both very chill streamers.
Yes.
Who had good music vibes. So I get that. Okay. So you started watching them and playing League of Legends. Do you remember what your first game of League of Legends was like?
It was.
Or were you drunk then too?
No. Do I remember? I'm not sure actually. I just remember I really wanted to play Lux and Orianna a lot, and it's funny now because I'm not a mid laner. I'm an AD carry main, and the way I got started with that is that one of my friends, Morgan, is really good at the game, and she's always been insane at the game, and she can play Leona in every single position. And so she got so good at the game that she's just like, I'm going to play Leona in every single position because that's what I want to do. And so we started running back in season 2 when LeBlanc was like broken and you could like mimic her Q and she had the silence and everything. We played a Leona LeBlanc kill bot lane.
Oh, okay.
It was great.
You're going in at that point in time,
and then that got me into, weirdly enough, playing Ezreal because she was like, well, if you like something that has an actual spell rotation but you still want to play in bot lane, play this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I actually got more into like what an ADC actually does, which has sometimes nothing to do with your spell rotation.
Okay, so you were writing, you were talking about League of Legends and writing about League of Legends on this anime blog?
No, it was adjacent. So yeah. And this was, I didn't start writing, I think, until the end of 2013, 2014. We wrote a bunch of articles on the blog. It was me, my friend that I just mentioned, who ran the Leona LeBlanc lane with me, and then another one of my friends. And in the beginning of 2014, GG Chronicle was relaunched, I believe.
Yes.
And so I was picked up along with one of my friends there.
So you started writing for GG Chronicle.
Yep.
And then GG Chronicle, it was around for about a year or so, right? Mm-hmm. And then, did you write for Paravine? Or
yeah.
Okay.
It kind of moved over.
Yeah, a lot of those same writers.
Yeah,
right?
A lot of us kind of migrated over.
And Paravine, for those that don't know, well, do you want to describe what Paravine was and who started it?
I don't even know who started because I came on it was like GG Chronicle is closing and Paravine was like, oh, we're gonna pick up all of the.
Am I crazy for not thinking Parth was running Paravine?
No, he wasn't, but he was writing for it because I edited his articles.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I met Parth.
Okay, for some reason I thought I've associated him so much with Paravine.
Yeah.
That I thought that he had started it, but regardless, okay, so you guys met that way, and were you writing? I assume this was a hobby for you. You were not necessarily doing any kind of compensation stuff.
Yeah, I was still working my retail job. Obviously, I had a background in journalism, so I could write somewhat competently. Yeah. I don't know. I look back on the stuff I wrote then, and I'm like, wow, this is really shitty.
All of us had very questionable work back then.
Yeah. So also, I mean, if you want to see how much the game has changed, you should see what analytical articles people are putting out then in terms of our understanding of the game itself. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm actually talking about the technical writing. My writing was Paravine, GG Chronicle it didn't fold into Paravine, but they rescued a lot of us when it went down. And I was still doing this as a hobby completely and working my retail job. And it was not until Yahoo Esports was looking for writers that I actually got paid for anything.
Yes. So your first paid work was actually with Riot, ironically now, since obviously you're working with them again. And I remember that because for a while they wanted LawEsports.com to really be like a media hub, essentially, where people would cover stuff. And for a while there was even a point in time where they were breaking news and that type of stuff. They had I remember they had maybe when Dan Din was doing something with C9 or something like that, they had some story about it way back in the day. I don't know. But regardless, so you were doing stuff with them. How long did you do that for, actually?
All of 2015.
Okay.
And then 2016, I started working for The Score.
Yeah. Are you sure? Because you started working with Yahoo, I think, in 2016 as well.
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, did you really work with Yahoo for such a short time?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I moved to California, and then, Yahoo died months later.
We should get into this a little bit because this is the first time where you and I officially worked together.
Yeah.
Because you were at The Score. So The Score was and still is a site that does sports coverage. Mm-hmm. They try to do esports coverage kind of the way they did sports coverage. They don't do it that way anymore.
Yeah.
And they were based out of Canada.
Yeah. It was sad because I actually think, like, putting the fact that I was sad that they don't have a writing thing anymore, because obviously most of the writers, if not all of them, are gone, or they're doing, like, video stuff now. But the app itself was actually really cool.
Oh, yeah, because they were mostly an app.
Yeah, so, like, the whole draw, I think, was that esports people were going to flock to the app like sports people, because, like, I've even heard people are like, the Score has the best app, like, ESPN's app sucks, like, go to the Scores. The app that they had for esports actually was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was cool how you could follow, like, if you weren't going to stay up and watch LPL or LCK at the airing time, you could follow and get score updates really easily. And you could even go back and see, like, they had a little mini map and, like, advanced statistics, but, like, a whole stats spreadsheet and stuff.
But they don't matter. What we're really talking about is Yahoo.
Yes.
So Yahoo Esports, we changed up our budget and we decided to hire some more folks towards the end of 2016, I think is probably when I started talking to you.
Yeah.
And did we hire you out from the Score?
No, the Score had, like, just let me go.
Okay, and we picked you up.
And then you picked me up.
Yes. And I think I was like, and you made I pushed you to move to LA? Or
yeah.
did you had already been kind of considering it?
I'd been considering it, but
yes.
It is unfortunate that you kind of have to move to LA to do anything in esports.
Yes.
I'm not an LA fan. I won't rag on the city too much.
Oh my!
But yeah.
It's not that bad.
Sure.
It's not. Oh my gosh! Really? Oh well. We should say
tough.
You like cold, dark, miserable
I'm a
areas.
Vampire. We already discussed this.
Yes. Okay. That's fair.
That's why we're doing it at night. You know,
Yes.
with, like, the
Well, it's also dinner with. You know,
Yeah,
we can't
this
do
is
dinner
true.
with during the day, even though
Well,
we did on one of the previous episodes.
I was like, wait a minute. You
Yes.
had dinner with Kobe. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Dinner is flexible. You can have dinner a lot of times, but. Okay, so whatever, begrudging or setting aside your Los Angeles hate. So you moved out, and I think one of the first things I was like, hey, written content is dead. I know you're a writer, but it's time for you to be on camera. And you said, by golly, gee, Travis, boy, have I waited to be on camera. I'm so excited, right?
I was really terrified, as you know. I was not enthusiastic, I would say. I'm really happy that you pushed me to be on camera, because previously, like I've said, I've been told by peers or, like, bosses that I shouldn't be on camera because I don't have, like, a very traditionally bubbly personality.
Yes.
And I never will.
Well, I think historically, especially in sports, and hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn here, but, like, women have been kind of typecast as, like, the bubbly, in some situations, like, almost ditzy foil to, like, the very analytical men on the show or whatever. And you are incredibly smart and analytical, but you are not goofing around very much on broadcast, unless it's the rat and the cat type video.
I like want I wish I was more like that's where I really have so much respect for Mark and Rez, because they're both, like, really good at that. Like, they're really good at physical comedy. They come up with, like, so many really hilarious ideas.
Yes. But they're clowns.
And I'm just like, I want to talk about Minion Wave.
Yeah. But again, that's one of the things that I love about that broadcast is that in a lot of ways it is somewhat like a flip of expectations on, and I think you fit in so well on it, and you're so talented.
Oh, thank you.
On that broadcast, and I know you love compliments.
Yeah.
But okay, so you were at Yahoo, and I think Ollie joined up around the same time you did.
Yep.
And I think one of the really, really entertaining and fun ideas I had was, let's have you both do video content together as you're both learning how to be on camera.
I really do. Can we find the cursed
I wish we
interview?
could find it, yes.
Oh my God.
It was never published. But
yeah, for those that don't know, Avali and I did an interview together. She was interviewing me. It was incredibly cursed. We've both evolved so much since then. But I would love to find it, because just to see, like, because it is one of those, like, wow, look at how we are here, and, like, now look where we're both at now. So.
Yes. No, I wish we could. If I like that from that perspective. I also like it just from a haha, look at these two noobs perspective. But because we also did the live show, League Weekly, right?
Yeah.
You, me, Kelsey, and Mark, right?
Yep. And Kelsey calling in from Shanghai.
Yes, and we stuck her on a TV.
Yep.
So that she could have a conversation. And I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was kind of like, that was a little trial by fire because it was about 2 hours long, and did we do it as a live show? I think we did it as a live show.
We did it as a live show, yeah.
Yes. And so it was, I'm sure for you at least, that was kind of like, obviously the stakes are much smaller than when you're on the Riot broadcast, but that was kind of a little bit of sink or swim type deal.
Yeah. That was also when you made me do my anime pick of the week.
Yes. Yes. Do you have an anime pick of the week for this episode of Dinner With?
Yes. Watch the new Gundam show, Gundam the Witch from Mercury. It's very fun.
Great. I'm glad. I thought I was going to make a joke and just put you on the spot, but I love that.
No, I actually have one because I've been watching it, yeah.
So, okay, obviously we worked together at the time. I'm sure that you were kind of trying to put on a bit of a brave face, but how were things behind the scenes for you during that time? Were you able to adapt to the camera stuff pretty comfortably, or did it take a while?
Yeah, it actually, so like, I think it really helped because when I started doing stuff for ESPN, they were like, you absolutely have to do video interviews. And it was a combination of two things that actually ended up making me comfortable. The being pushed to do more camera work while on Yahoo, and then also being at LCS a lot more regularly and actually talking to the players.
Yeah.
So by the time I actually started doing more video interviews consistently, especially during 2018 Worlds with ESPN, I remember my first interview was with Jensen, and he made it, like, shout out to Jensen, he made it so easy for me. Like, that was such a cool interview to have because I had already spoken with him before. I don't even think they were coming off of a win. But I remember it being like, I was like, oh, okay, like, I thought this was going to be really bad. I thought I was going to be completely incompetent, and it was going to be super awkward, and it ended up being a really good interview.
Yeah. He's a great interview.
He is a great interview.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so it sounds like this is less of a traumatic experience than I thought you were going to, because I know you, for video stuff, I know you were really uncomfortable in the beginning.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you were able to kind of get into it a little bit easier. Did you have a lot of self-doubt at any given point in time? Or?
Yeah. I mean, even when I got asked to be on the Riot broadcast, I was like, yeah, I think I'll be shit. Like, in my head, you know, I was just like, I don't think I'm going to be very good at this because I'm kind of awkward.
How did you power through that self-doubt?
I think this is going to sound like a really cheesy answer because people have asked me this before, but, like, when I start talking about League, either analytically or just a story I like, I kind of forget that I'm on camera and I'm just myself at, like, a slightly higher energy level. So I don't know. That's my answer. Like, it isn't until afterwards. Like, I remember I went running when I came back from Worlds last year, and I was like, because I try to go running every day just to, like, clear my head. And I'm out running, and in my head, I suddenly think, like, millions of people watch me on a broadcast, and I suddenly felt, like, really nauseous. And I was like, oh, God. And then I was like, all right, well, it's already happened, so I can't do, you know what I mean? Like, if I messed up, I can't do anything about it, so.
Have you ever experienced, or as you were starting to do this stuff, did you ever experience any kind of, like, stage fright? Or do you think it was a gradual enough process where you were starting, because obviously you worked to get to the point where you were on the LCS broadcast. Mm-hmm. I think there are a lot of very talented people like yourself who are out there that can really convey information in an incredible way, or are very smart, but have that same set feeling that you have. Like, I have friends that are just like, oh, I could never be on camera, or I could never be in front of people. And so I'm kind of curious, like, did you ever experience that kind of lockup, or did you ever have that? And if so, you know, what got you past that?
I never had that kind of, like, lockup, but I'm always a very, like, nervous and twitchy person in general, as you can see from even this video where I'm, like, doing
You're
this
just dealing
or
with
like
the olive
twitching.
oil on your
yeah,
hands.
I mean
Yes.
it's moisturizing my hands. It's great.
Okay,
you know?
yes, yeah. The benefits of Italian food.
But no, like so I know people noticed it at my first live event because if you remember, I started during the COVID era.
Yes.
So I started at a time where like no one is gonna see that I'm like bouncing my leg or like
Started
doing
on the Riot
whatever.
broadcast, we
Yeah,
should say,
so I
yes.
started on the LCS broadcast at a time where we were doing like from rigs at home.
Yeah.
Because it was during quarantine era. So my first thing was that spring finals, and they put us up on the like risers. There's so many really good memes, especially with Raz like staring at someone's portrait behind us because another thing that they don't tell you is like, so we're up on these things, and I have like 4-inch heels also because I'm only 5 feet tall.
Was this the one in LA without the audience?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the one where like you saw Sven and Perks like
Yes.
running down the center,
That
like
was-
faking high fiving people.
That was a very strange finals.
It was.
Especially from a broadcast perspective.
It was so weird. It was also like really cool because like as I'm getting mic'd up, I can hear Pentakill like warming up.
Oh,
And
yes.
Their lead singer is insane, by
Yeah.
the way. So good. But anyway, yeah. So I think people might have just thought that I was nervous because I was like 20 plus feet in the air. And again, the thing they don't tell you is that the video screens, if you're up against a video screen, I'm sure you've experienced this. There's a depth perception thing that happens
Yeah.
where you're like, this is here, but it's not actually here. It's like back here.
Right.
So it's like very disorienting. And I'm not afraid of heights at all. But I think people saw my nervousness about being live and thought that I was just afraid of heights.
Gotcha. Okay. So you started doing all this stuff with Riot, and you were able to kind of get past the initial concerns around it.
Mm-hmm.
How have you dealt with the attention? Because I think at the beginning there was a lot more criticism as you were starting to move into the role.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're pretty good about avoiding like Reddit and stuff like that so that you don't get necessarily exposed to it. But I know you spend a lot of time on social media, so you see this stuff. Now that criticism, I feel like, has overwhelmingly turned to adoration. Because I've linked you even during Worlds, like multiple Reddit threads of people being like, Emily's so good at her job, et cetera, et cetera. So how have you dealt with all of that?
I obviously don't really know how to take compliments very well. I think the most flattering thing, and I said this, was unfortunately when I got COVID. And so I was like crushed because I was like, I don't know if this is, when I'm going to get better, when I'm going to be able to be on the broadcast, how that's even going to work. And there were so many people who were tweeting at me, and they were like, I love how much you care about the players and their stories. And I was like, all right, even if you like disagree with my analytical points, if that's coming through, then like I must be doing something right. So like that was the most flattering thing that I experienced, was when people were telling me that. Especially during Worlds, because I think there's a lot of ground to cover, and there's some, rightfully so. I know we've talked about this, stuff about talent assignments. So
And
I
who
always
gets picked for the
yeah,
broadcast?
and
who
so
doesn't.
like
Yeah.
I end up feeling like, on the one hand, I always want to go as far as possible. I am very like internally competitive, I guess. Less so with other people and more so with like myself. It's like, did I do the best I could? No, I don't feel like I did the best I could at all. I felt like I fucked up. So next time I'm just going to try harder and be better, and do more prep, because the more prep I do, the more comfortable I always feel. But yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, okay, that's the best compliment I feel like I could receive.
Why do you think it is that it is so important to you that people know that you care? Like, why is it that stands out, right? Because there's like so much,
That's a
there's
good
so many
question.
things to have people care about, right? Where like you mentioned, even if they disagree with your analysis or whatever, this is what you want. So why is it you think that's the thing that really stands out to you?
I don't know. I think it's because like if I have any sort of energy on broadcast, it's going to come from that, I guess. And also, I think I from, this is going to sound really weird, actually. Okay, whatever. From an artist perspective, I think there's nothing cooler than watching someone do something they love and, like, spread that kind of love for something. So, like, at Worlds, I still don't, like, know how to deal with this compliment, but again, it's, like, some of the best I've received where people are like, I like, kept watching League because of your passion about something, or, like, I was really overwhelmed by how much you seemed to care. And I think that is really awesome if I can make someone love the game and the players, like, even, like, a quarter of as much as I do or something like that.
It's that, it sounds like it's that desire to have, like, contagious enthusiasm.
Yes.
Almost, right? Which I can definitely understand, because it does feel sometimes like a huge role that we play as people telling stories and talking about the other players, is to, like, be like, hey, this is really fucking cool. Like, you should care about this in the same way that I do. And it sounds like that's kind of what you like to convey and get out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have now gone all the way to the finals. And you were in Chase. First off, how did that feel, being in Chase just about a month or so ago, like, sold out? What best finals, world finals, most people say, ever. What was it like for you being a part of that?
I was glad they cut away from us to, like, do the celebration, because I was, like, crying after Jeff won. So I was like, oh, I need to make sure, like, mascara isn't just, like, running down my face, which would have been hilarious probably, but whatever. It was absolutely amazing to be a part of that. Like, I never thought that would happen at all, ever, to me.
Well, so, that's what I was going to ask, too, has it ever feel surreal to, like, look at where you are whenever you're in a moment like that? Because I'm sure, because, again, like, there was you in college, as you said, you were not interested in doing the broadcast side at all.
No, I did newspaper all the way, which maybe was a mistake.
Yes. Well, time has treated one of those two courses a little better from a career perspective. But, I mean, it's I imagine it's very surreal. Yeah.
It was also just, like, in the moment when I'm, like, talking about teams, it's different because, again, everything goes out of my head and I'm like, oh, I want to tell this story, or I really want to talk about this. I still think I messed up between games. I think it was 2 and 3 or something.
I go back and I'm like, talking about that when they talk about the finals.
Terrible. But yeah,
I think
anyway,
during the finals, there's other things to talk about.
Experiencing that, like, because the one thing I didn't talk about is, like, my own personal League of Legends fandom, which, as people know, I'm a KT fan. Shout out to everyone in all the Reddit threads who's like, oh man, Emily's going to be so upset after, like, every depressing loss, including the DRX one this year. So yeah, shout out. But yeah, I think I've been watching Deft and Faker since their debuts, right? Yeah. And so to see Deft finally win Worlds in a year where he'd already given several interviews where he said, like, I finally understand that it's about the people around me. It's a lot more about, this than being able to say, like, I'm the best player because I won Worlds. And, like, that's the year he wins Worlds. Like, that's amazing. I don't think you can, tie a narrative bow on something better than what actually happened in real life this year at the World Championship.
Yeah. I know I have many friends who have worked Worlds or work in the space doing content. And for a lot of them, making it to World Finals is kind of like the goal, the long-term goal. And for players, maybe it's winning Worlds, but for broadcast folks, it's like, I want to do the finals, right? Like, that's like the most prestigious thing. What do you feel like you've hit, like, that apex moment yet? Or, okay, so then what is it? Where are you headed? What are you working towards?
This is really nebulous because it's not like I'm not as motivated by, like, oh, I want to do, like, this specific thing in my career. It's like I want to be the best at what I'm doing. And I'm definitely not there yet. Like, I can't even cast.
Do you want to cast?
I want to try, yeah.
Okay, will you?
Yeah, as soon as I can make my practice casts a lot less cursed.
Okay, well, it's cool it's on the horizon. And so that sounds like that's a place that you're headed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very cool. So, I mean, I think what is neat about it is that you still have very tangible goals, which I think a lot of folks, I mean, sometimes I struggle where I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do next? And so for you, it's great to hear that you have an answer. Looking back at everything that you've accomplished, is there anything that you would say to people who look at you as a bit of a role model? Because I think for some people, they could look at Kobe or whatever and they can be like, okay, charismatic white dude that just screams and yells and can talk about stuff, like he's fine, right? But I think in many different ways, you represent a group of people who probably might feel as though they can't, they have the same self-doubts that you've had that you've been able to conquer. So I'm curious if you have anything that you would say to those folks as you look back over the course of your career.
Don't let you stop yourself, I guess. It would be like the main thing. Because like I think I'm not going to say it's always been easy in terms of like dealing with online community criticism. And like to this day, I still don't really read Reddit. I still don't look at Twitch chat ever. Because I know that my own mental fortitude, as much as I like to joke, and it's probably true that like no one can hate me as much as I can hate me, I think that being able to recognize that would absolutely like affect my performance and kind of just remove myself from it, even if it does mean that I'm missing, stuff like the only time I know about something like the threads you linked to me is when someone links it to me, right? Or they're like, someone said this about you. But yeah, like I guess, yeah. I mean, I still feel like even though I can look back and say I put in all of this work, right? Like I'm never going to say I didn't work hard. And that's another thing I've tried to have consistent across my career is like if someone works with me, they at the very least can say that she works really freaking hard. And never be able to say like she didn't pull her weight here or something like that, right? Is that I feel like I've also been really lucky, and I think a lot of it, unfortunately, is also luck. Like a lot of it is merit, but a lot of it is luck as well. And so in terms of like any sort of internal thing, I feel like there are so many people who are way braver than I am in the space, so they're going to do a lot of cool things.
Well, I think there are very brave people, but I definitely think you are definitely among them, especially as I've seen you tackle so many external and, from what I can tell, internal challenges and hurdles as you've made your way here.
Oh,
so.
Also find friends that are outside of esports. To like
yes.
add to I like this is actually not a joke. Like I joke about this all the time because I've found really great friends in esports, obviously, but if you can find friends outside of esports who will give you some perspective on a lot of things, it's actually really, really helpful.
That is very true. I think I've hung out with friends after something feels like the end of the world in esports has happened for me personally, and then I realized it's the smallest thing ever. So, very good. Hey, thank you so much. So, are you taking this pizza home?
Yeah, I am.
Because I tried to offer you a couple opportunities to steal a couple bites during, but I know you were jamming out on the conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm going to wolf this down later.
Fantastic. Well, just in case you want additional food, I have to find in my pocket, hopefully, here we go. This is courtesy of Grubhub, a Grubhub gift card. Yeah, I know you watched the show previously, so you knew this was coming.
Yeah, I did.
So,
Thank
food,
you.
food for you and whoever else you want to share with in the future from Grubhub.
Nice.
But again, thank you so much for talking today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for everyone else, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Dinner With. Again, thank you so much to Grubhub for making this possible. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. And thank you to Emily, and congratulations to her on all the success that she's had. A really inspiring story. And we'll see you next time for Dinner With. I hope you enjoyed that episode of Dinner With, brought to you by Grubhub. The great thing is, if you like Dinner With, you can have your own at-home version of Dinner With by using Grubhub. That's right, invite a friend or family member over and then order on Grubhub. And when you do, make sure you know about the Grubhub guarantee, where they guarantee it'll be on time at the best price, or they'll make it right. Thank you so much to Grubhub for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate having them as a partner and for making something like this possible.